please wait for the microphone. And with that, we'll start off with the first question of 2025. Egos. Wow.
Carlos, obviously there was a lot of excitement even before the signing of Pete. What was your reaction when you found out about that deal, and how does that change the dynamic of what you guys feel you can accomplish as a lineup?
Pete Alonso right away, huh? Well, it's hard for me to sit here and not talk about Pete, but he hasn't been official yet. He's going through his physicals
I was wondering if I was going to get you there.
Right. So, but I'm not going to lie, excited. The whole off season was whether Pete was going to come back or not. And again, hopefully we can talk more soon here, but we know what he brings to the table. This is a guy that I've been saying it the whole offseason. This is a guy that played every game for us last year. His personality, how much he wanted to be here and, accomplish the ultimate goal. He enjoys the city. He enjoys our fan base. So, he brings a lot, and I'm excited.
I know it obviously depends on the team and the players, but expectations sometimes have a way of adding more pressure to certain players throughout the course of a season. When you guys have an off season like you had and the expectations, at least externally, get raised through the roof, how as a manager do you approach that, trying to make sure that it doesn't impact what you guys do?
Yeah, you just said it, expectations externally. Last year, remember sitting here and nobody talked about expectations from the Mets. We knew we were good and we knew we had a chance. Now this year, because what we were able to do this off season, I get it. There's people talking about, at the end of the day, is what we believe in here, and we need to take care of things that we need to take care. Everything that is said outside of this locker room, it does not matter. We got to go out there. We know we got a good team. But there's long ways to go. We got to be healthy. We got to stay healthy. We got to play well. There's a lot of good teams out there, and we understand that. But we like our team. We like what we've done this offseason. We brought a lot of guys back. We're keeping a lot of guys that were the core of this group from last year. So it's exciting. As far as managing expectations, you have to embrace those expectations. What's the alternative, right? So I'm excited, and we all feel that way.
For you personally, how does year 2 feel different?
Oh, a lot different. You're not meeting 20 people every day. You're familiar with the organization, familiar with the processes, familiar with the players. You have a foundation now. We make what makes things a lot smoother, especially in the early going. So from that end, it's a lot different. But you still got to be able to connect. You still got to be able to talk to people and challenge them. Coaches, we're familiar with each other, and that helps. So same thing with the front office, and I'm just excited to get going.
Also, we spoke to Senga earlier, and he spoke about his health. He also mentioned a couple times ramping up slowly this spring. But just from a managerial perspective, what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, he dealt with a lot, last year, not a secret, right? And this off season, at the beginning of the off season, was kind of like finishing his rehab, if you want to call it. And then it was kind of like a shutdown period, and then the build up again, like his preparation as a healthy player for this year. So, we'll see what it looks like. I know Hef visited with him in Japan not too long ago, and the reports were really good. We just got to see the intensity and how he's going to bounce back and things like that. But our goal is to have him ready to break camp, So what is that going to look like? We'll see, But he's healthy, knock on wood, feeling good, and ready to go.
Carlos, last year you guys had about as rough as a start as you could have, especially for a first-year manager out of the gate. and then you kind of played like, admittedly, like there was nothing to lose, and that's how you guys kind of rebounded. Is it harder in year two, even looking at it from your perspective, that, like you mentioned the external expectations, but there has to be some part internally too that you guys want to do better than what you did last year, which was an incredible run as it was. Like, so how do you get that? Like, how do you avoid that, sitting on top of your head too?
Yeah, you just take it one day at a time, It was fun last year and all that, especially, like you said, the way we started the year. But look, we gotta play baseball, We're here to win a championship, That's the goal. But we also, like I said, we understand there's a lot of good teams out there. We got to go out and do it. How do we manage it? By taking care of the little things, by taking one day at a time, not looking too far ahead. That's how we do it. It's a one day at a time mentality. I'm going to say from day one. So,
Do you think there's anything in particular, Carlos, that makes you a better manager this year, what you've learned? Is it just knowing the players better? Or is there something about, you've already been on the bench as a bench coach and all that, so the speed of the game probably didn't change a ton. But is there one thing you can point to that you'll be better at in year two, or you can be better based on that?
Yeah, I think you're always looking for ways to get better. And whether it's with the way you communicate with your players, with the way you communicate with your coaches, the front office, the media, every day, I feel like every time I come over here, I'm looking for ways to get better. I pride myself in being a good communicator, and I still feel like I got to get better at that. I got to get better at connecting with people. And, as far as like the game goes and the decision making, still using the coaches and things like that, the game slows down itself. But, again, I think just always looking for ways to get better. I do a lot of listening. So those are some of the same things that I continue to do here.
Carlos, at what positions do you want to take a look at Brett Beatty this spring?
Yeah, third base and second base. We're going to keep him in the dirt as much as possible. We're going to give him some exposure at second base as well. This is a position where when he went down to AAA, he played a lot. We want to see it ourselves. So you'll see him a lot between those two positions. Maybe a little bit of the outfield on some stay-back day when he's not playing, or but mainly, especially in-game actions, you'll see him at third base and at second base for now.
And do you have any, other than Acuna, do you have any backup shortstop options in camp, really?
Yeah, look, Madrigal's going to get some exposure there. Madrigal will get some reps at shortstop. Acuna for sure. So we got options there.
You said with Alonso that you kind of know what he brings to the table. How valuable is that reliability, a guy you can plug into the middle of your lineup 162 games a year?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. As a manager, having the feel and knowing that who's going to be in the middle of your lineup, not worry about who's playing first base and things like that. It means a lot. Like I said, you don't have to worry about him. There's gonna be a lot of days where he's not feeling at his best, and he's still gonna post. Last year was a perfect example when there was days where I didn't feel he was going to be a player for us, and he kept pushing it, and it's like, I'm playing. So that's a good feeling.
Spring training wise, next 6 weeks, what are you most interested in finding out about your team?
It's spring training, From day one, I think we need to lay down that foundation that, we got to be able to connect. We got to be able to build relationships, and, we have to create that culture again, where people are really looking forward to come to work, where we create an environment where everybody's important. And those are some of the things that you look for in the next 6 weeks, we need to become a team. We got a lot of talent, we got some new faces, and it might not happen in 6 weeks. I want to see guys continue to work on their craft, continue to get better, continue to work on the details, and we need to keep guys healthy.
As far as the major league roster goes, what jobs or what spots do you see as up for grabs during camp?
Well, the way I see it, there's always competition. I think competition brings the best out of people, whether it's bullpen spot, whether it's an infield, whether it's, that extra utility infielder, the rotation, how is that going to play out? So we got a lot of good players. We got a lot of good options, and we're going to be facing some really hard conversations and some hard decisions at the end of camp. That means everyone's healthy, everybody's performing, and that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
Are you still looking at a 6-man rotation? Mostly?
It depends on Senga, obviously.
Yeah.
But if Senga's healthy, which he is, knock on wood, there's a good chance we'll go with a 6-man rotation, throughout the year, and even with some off days included there. So, we got options, we got depth, so that's good to have.
So out of 6 spots, how many locks do you have?
How many locks we got? I don't know. I mean, we got a lot of options, Well, I mean, but it comes down to health, So it's for me to sit here on, before day one of pitchers and catchers and say these guys are locked. I mean, I don't think that's fair, because we still got a long ways to go.
Hey, Carlos, the outside criticism of the team falls on the rotation without having that sort of like true number one. How do you view that? And what's like the upshot of this group being able to overcome that if that is an issue?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, like you said, that's more like outside noise. We do feel comfortable with, our front end of the rotation, especially if everyone is healthy. But we also feel really good about our depth, Some of the guys that we were able to bring on board, whether it was a Frankie Montas, whether it's a Clay Holmes, we were able to bring back Sean Manaya. So, again, those are some of the guys that are going to play a huge role for us, and we feel really good about our options.
Assuming Senga is okay during the spring, would you put, say, Canning, Blackburn, and McGill for that 6th spot?
Yeah, they're all competing, and we're going to build, Blackburn, because of the injury, might be a little bit behind, but the goal is for him to be fully built up by the time we break camp. Again, if everyone is healthy, there's going to be some tough conversations and some tough decisions. But as far as like building everyone up, whether it's Canning, McGill, Blackburn, all of those guys, that's the goal.
Is there anybody else missing that I mentioned for that 6th spot potentially?
I mean, we got a lot of guys in camp. So, but yeah, that's fair to say. Not as a starter. Not as a starter. We're going to stretch him out as a multiple inning guy out of the bullpen, but not as a starter.
Sort of along those same lines, how do you view Tyler McGill going into spring training right now? Is he a starter or is he a reliever?
Yeah, he's going to be built up as a starter. He came in feeling really good. I think already throwing live VP, so he's in the competition. And he's going to play a big role for us. We saw some improvement last year, especially when he went down. Then he came back up with the 2-seam against righties, and we know the velo's always there. The way he uses all of his pitches, and again, he's coming into camp, competing for a starting role, and that's how we're going to build him up.
Is the bullpen an option for him?
I mean, there's always an option, but again, right now as we sit here, he's going to be built up as a starter.
What about Kranick? Will you guys have him stretch out to start, or will he come out of the bullpen?
He's more like a bullpen type guy, multiple inning, so he's another guy that he's going to get built up for multiple innings out of the bullpen.
Steve?
He asked the question already.
Carlos, with Clay Holmes, do you guys have to be like more careful with as he stretches out after so many years of relieving? How do you guys overlook that build-up process, and where is he right now in that process?
Yeah, he's in a good spot, and that started it as soon as we signed him. Hef and the pitching group put together a really good plan where he's to a point where I think he's scheduled to throw out 3 ups live BP tomorrow. So I think it's just not so much the build-up, but just his routine, especially the days that it's not a heavy day of throwing for him. Just keeping those days low is going to be the key, and this is some of the adjustment he's making. But as far as like the build up and all that goes, we feel good where he's at right now, and you got to give him credit. I mean, he's a guy that showed up here the second week of January, so he's in a good place right now.
Outside of the Tommy John guys, Christian Scott and I think Alzolay, is there anyone in camp who you would question health-wise, just their readiness for opening day at this point?
Well, I wouldn't say questioning, but AJ Minter, was in August. He had hip surgery. He's in a good spot. He's scheduled to throw his first bullpen at the end of this month, and the goal is for him to be ready. But other than that, knock on wood, feel good where everyone is at.
And also, just back to Senga for a second. Last year, it seemed like, we would laugh about it sometimes when it was kind of Senga doing his own thing. Are you confident now after an off season, after having gone through that everyone's sort of on the same page in terms of what he needs to be doing, what you guys want him to be doing? Everyone's sort of pulling on the same end of the rope.
Yeah, and we felt that way last year too. We were very open-minded. We asked him a lot. He had a lot of input in some of the things that he was doing, and that's why a couple of our trainers went to Japan in November, and then Hefner went to Japan as well, and it'll continue to be that way. We feel good with where he's at. He will continue to have a saying with his routine and his program and all that, and we'll continue to make some suggestions too. So it's a two-way street here, and we will keep it that way.
Carlos, you mentioned earlier that you think there should be competition across the board, and that's how you view things. Especially given some of McNeil's struggles last year, do you view him penciled in as the second baseman for this team, or do you want, whether it's a Beatty or an Acuna, thinking about trying to push for at least some playing time there potentially this year? Yeah,
look, Jeff is going to play a huge role. We know how important he is for this team. He got out of the gate and struggled last year, but you got to give him credit because there was a stretch here where he wasn't even playing for us. And then he kept working, and then you saw the results in the second half. And that's going to be the case here, I'll say it. He's a big part of this team. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. But Acuña is going to get opportunities. Brett Baty is going to get opportunities. Madrigal is going to get opportunities. So we got some. Jeff Williams is going to get opportunities as a prospect. So, but Jeff is the good thing with Jeff is he provides versatility. So you can move him around everywhere. Even though we got a crowded outfield right now, but I could see him getting a lot of reps at second base.
You only saw it for, I think, 5 innings last year, but what can a healthy Senga mean to your rotation as a whole?
Man, yeah, those 5 innings were electric, you're watching him pitch, and it's like, man, this is real, So it means a lot if we can have a healthy Senga, because you guys saw it in 2023. I saw it briefly last year, and it could be special. What he's able to do with the baseball, move around the velo, and he competes. So it'll be huge for the team. It'll be huge for the rotation and for Senga, because it was a hard year for him in 2024.
And then with Buto, why did you ultimately make the decision to limit him to relief rather than stretching him fully out?
Yeah, those were some of the conversations that we were having in the off season. We just felt it was best for him, for the team, to keep him in that role, as a multi-inning guy, in that 40-45 range pitch mark. So that was it.
Carlos, you talked about you have a crowded outfield. You also have Winker back as a potential DH. What's the challenge going to be finding a spot for Starling Marte?
Yeah, he's another guy that is going to be a big part of this team. We got to keep him healthy. It's going to be the biggest thing. He's a guy that's dealt with injuries the past couple of years, but when he's healthy, he's an impactful player. Obviously the reps in right fields are going to be limited for obvious reasons. But those are some of the conversations that I'll continue to have with him. Whether it's DH, him and Jesse. But the fact that if he doesn't see his name in the starting lineup, he might get the biggest at bat of a game, and he's got to be ready for it, So he's got a huge role in this team. And again, I think we just got to keep him healthy. And this is some of the conversations that I'll have with him during spring training and throughout the year.
And as far as Beatty goes, what did you guys see from him back at AAA last year? I mean, is he just at the point now where he's got to do it at the big league level? There's nothing left to kind of show it.
Pretty much. And this is a guy that is willing to do whatever it takes to make this club, and he's been very vocal about it with some of the conversations that, whether it was David, myself, through the offseason, where it's like, hey, we probably going to need you to play multiple positions. And he's like, I'm up for it. Now he just got to go out there, compete and do it and be himself, because he is a really good player. There's tools. And there's a lot to like about Brett Beatty. So he just got to be himself, go out there, go do it, and let the rest take care of itself.
This is perhaps similar to Mike's question, but how do you kind of gauge the balance between some of the young players maybe biding their time at AAA or, behind as a bench role versus, going to AAA and getting that regular playing time, just that balance of maybe they're ready, but the playing time is something that could be an issue at the major league level.
Yeah, I feel like every team every year is facing those same decisions, where you got guys that are ready to go and make an impact at the big league level, but then the question becomes, is it better for them to continue their development and get everyday at bats as opposed to just sitting on the bench and play once a week, So I think it all depends where you at when you break camp, what the roster is going to look like, and how much playing time can you give those guys, even on a utility role, because if there's someone that you could put at second, at third, even at short to spell Francisco, and you could find a way to get them in games and get them at bats so they can continue their development, that's the perfect world, right? But again, too early to tell. But there's always a balance, and we'll have those discussions and we'll make those decisions when we need to.
Yes, Carlos, you have a lot of good names for that lineup. Now, I'm going to assume Lindor is the leadoff hitter. Do you have it in your mind who's 2, 3, and 4 from there? I know Boone came out last year and said Soto, Judge 2 and 3, and stuck with it.
Yeah, I got to sit down and talk to Juan and talk to Pete and talk to, when Pete passes his physicals. With Vientos, Nemo. The good thing, John, is we got some really good options here, and whether you go Soto, second, third, Lindor, Pete, Vientos, you feel good about your chances, right? So again, too early. I've been playing around. I'm not gonna lie. I've been playing around what it's gonna look like if we go this way. What about if we go that way? But who we're facing? When talking about a guy like Soto, I don't know. But again, I gotta have those conversations with them. Let it kind of play out and see what's best for the players, what's best for the team, and then we'll go from there.
We can assume Lindor's in the leadoff spot. Does
Yeah.
that work?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
To round back to second base, do you see the starting second base job as up for grabs during camp?
Every position is up for grabs. Now, look, Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil is coming into camp here with an opportunity to be the second baseman. So like I said, there's competitions, but Jeff is pretty much right there. So he's a big part of this team.
So it sounds like you just want to see him earn it a little bit.
I want to see everybody earn it. That's the big leagues. There's got to be some sense of urgency, and you always feel like somebody's trying to take your job. And that's the mentality. So, like I said, competition brings the best out of people, and I'm excited about Jeff. I'm excited about all the guys here.
And are Jet Williams and Luis Angel Acuna going to play the outfield?
Jet Williams is going to get some reps in center field. Acuna, we want to give him a look at third base as well. So don't be surprised if you see an infield alignment of Acuna at third, Beatty at second, Madrigal at short in a game. So because we want to see those guys what they can do in certain days. So as I'm sitting here, I'm probably gonna keep Acuna in the dirt. That doesn't mean we're taking outfield out of the equation. Maybe 3 weeks from now that changes. But Jed Williams definitely is going to get some reps in center field.
And what is Ronnie Mauricio's status?
Yeah, he's going through his running progression still. You won't see him in games till, hopefully somewhere middle of March, to be honest with you. This is a guy that missed the whole year last year, as you all know, and he has some setbacks. And right now he's trending in the right direction, and we want to keep it that way. So he's taking ground balls, he's taking BP outside, but as far as game goes, he's gonna be we won't expect Mauricio to be in games early in camp.
Carlos, just to follow up on John's question, last year your lineup kind of took a while to get to its best spot. You moved people around a lot. You had a new personnel when Vientos came in. He worked himself to be the number 2 guy. With the names you're talking about now, it seems like it's a lineup that's going to be a lot more. Do you expect it to be more locked in? Just because of the names and the track records of those guys?
Yes, and I think I said it last year. I like consistency, and when you got established elite big league hitters, I think that goes a long way too. That's the goal, that hopefully everyone is healthy and you don't have to worry about, okay, they know who's hitting in front of them, they know who's hitting behind them, but you got to stay open-minded too, guys will go through stretches where it's hard for them, and, depending on who's available, who's not, there's off days and there's always ways to move people around, but in the perfect world, I would like to have the first, 5, 6 guys, and that way they know who's hitting in front and who's hitting behind. So consistency is important for me, but that's not everything.
Yesterday, Alvarez called it the best lineup in baseball. Would you go as far as to agree with your catcher's assessment there? Or?
We like our lineup, but there's a lot of good teams out there too. There's and look, on paper, there's a lot of teams that look good. But you're not going to win a championship because, your team looks good on paper. You still got to go out there and do it day in and day out. So we like our lineup. We like our team. But we also understand that there's a lot of good teams out there. And there's a lot of good lineups out there, too.